welcome back to After the Shot, and today I'm going to take you to South Louisiana, into the swamp, into the bayou. It's hot and sticky, but luckily you don't have to go there, because a lot of times people do not like getting hot sticky, and I understand, but it actually does have its charm. So I'm going to show you an image right now up on the screen, and this is like I said, it is a swamp. You've got water, you've got these trees right here. And the thing about the swamp, even though it actually can be very beautiful, is that it's very complicated. So our goal here today, we're going to try the best we can, is to make this image into something that, you know, we can look aesthetically pleasing. We can see some patterns that causes our eye to kind of jump around the image and makes it enjoyable to see. So right now, we've got the image here, and it is a little bit too much in color, I think. There's just too much going on here, and we have to simplify things. So I'm going to take the color out right now and say, that's what I'm going to do. Okay. And one thing you notice right away, this is a very high contrast image. So what I want to go ahead and do is make this a little bit softer, and we want to make it kind of dreamy, make it kind of glow. And I think these images like this really works well. So I'm going to do a couple things. Let's move down our list here. We have clarity, so I'm going to go ahead and make some of that clarity go away. It's not quite contrast. We've used it in some videos previously. It just kind of either makes it a little bit softer or a little bit sharper and more contrasty. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and move that slider down, because if I make it all the way up, it's going to go way too much for us. So I'll go ahead and slide that on down. And also dehaze. We were talking about this last week. This can actually remove haze in your image. Like if you're looking off in the distance and there's heat and there's some haze in the image, it can take it out. So if we were to do that, you can see more contrast comes back in. But I'm going to go ahead and actually do the exact reverse right here. We'll be pretty liberal with it in this case, because I want to make it, again, a little bit simpler. And then this is when we need to start doing some drawing on the image. We want to make some patterns in here a little bit more noticeable. This is what actually people would do in the darkroom. Back in the day, they would actually have a little sheet of cardboard, in a lot of cases, with a hole in it, and you'd shine extra light through that little hole, and those areas of the images where the hole was over would be brighter. And that's actually called dodging. So we're going to go ahead and do that here. And first off, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm just going to include an increased exposure. We may go in here a little bit more and add some more, but for now, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to come along here. I see some light going up in this direction, and I want to accentuate that. So I'm going to go in here. Got a fairly wide brush. We may go in here and change that later, but for now, that's what we're going to do. And I got to be careful here, because obviously these bushes right here are in front of what this little river is, so I don't want to do too much of that. Okay. And let's go ahead, make it a little bit brighter. One thing I do want to fool around with, now that we've added that in, back in the back here, I want to see if I can even make these a little bit more, stick out a little bit more of these branches and stuff back here. And the way we can do this in black and white, we can actually make what the original colors were, either brighter or darker. So obviously now we're in black and white, but Photoshop knows that this used to be green up here, and this used to have a little bit of blue and so forth. So I'm going to go in here, and there's a little tab, and I can go into black and white mixing, which is kind of fun. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the greens up. And as you can see, as I do that, it's either going to lighten or darken those areas. And I'm going to be pretty liberal here. I want it to stick out. Okay, so there we go. All right, so as you can see, we're doing pretty good up in the background here, but the foreground here, it's going to need a little bit of work. So here we go. I'm going to take my adjustment brush again. And I'm going to reset it to something simple. Again, we want to start with simple and then we add in, because we can go really overboard with this image really quickly, because it is quite complicated. And what I am seeing here is actually a swath, kind of an arc here that's framed by these branches. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to draw an arc. That's what I'm going to go ahead and do. And we're going to bring it all the way down here, all the way from the top. I'm going to bring it all the way down here. Okay, here we go. And we're gonna fool around with it. As you can see, we could really go crazy with this, but we don't wanna do that. It needs to be fairly subtle. And I think I'll go ahead and bring the whites up a little bit, make it a little bit brighter. Okay, so I'm starting to see that pretty well. So we've made some progress. We've done the background. We've kind of done a little bit of the foreground right here, but we still have this in here. So what are we going to do? Well, if you said adjustment brush, you're right, because that allows us again to individually edit specific areas of the image. So I'm going to go ahead and reset my adjustment brush because I'm going to do another one. And we're going to go ahead and do it over this area right here. Now this is going to be tricky. I fooled around with this image before we did this recording and I had some trouble here. So let's see if attempt number 3 is going to work well for us. Alrighty. So I'm going to go in here. And I'm going to try not to overdo it, I promise. Okay. There we go. So we can, as you can see, we can, if we start going crazy, it's going to look like a big blob in the middle of the image. It looks like it's, a piece of gum or something. We don't want that. So I'm going to say, oh, about right there. So maybe a little less. There we go. And I want to make sure, basically what I want, you see these branches right here, right in here? I want to make those stand out a little bit more. I'm going to try to, maybe a little bit more contrast. Oops, maybe not contrast, just some clarity. There we go. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and as well, and we might be able to use the same adjustment brush down here as we used up here, but I'm going to do another one so I've got some more flexibility. But I want to lighten this area down here as well. So let's go ahead and do that. And just a little swath of the paintbrush. Let's see what we got. Okay. I'm going to still keep trying to make this area up here a little bit more standoffish here. Maybe that's not the right word, or stand out a little bit more. Okay. And I think I'm going to actually go into 100% here, and I was mentioning this particular branch right here. I really want some more stuff going on in here, so let's see what we can do. Be really careful with this. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of some of these other things so I know exactly what I'm working with. And we'll go in here, some highlights, some contrast. Okay, don't want to overdo it. In fact, I'm going to even go in here further. And we're going to try and erase some of this area in here, because it's starting to stick out a little bit too much here. Okay, let's go back to 100. Okay, so it's starting to stand out a little bit more. I kind of like that. Okay. So I honestly think we're getting somewhere. Might be one other thing that I want to do is actually down here, and I'm going to use a gradient filter because that's ideal on the corners, because actually, see how it's getting a little darker down there? I want to brighten that up. So we'll go in here and we'll do some of that. Let's see how much of it we do. And the way this filter works, a gradient, it's going to be stronger down here and it fades away as you get to that red line. So let's see what we can pull together here. Okay, highlights, a little bit of whites. Let's see what we got. Okay, I'm starting to like this image. Let's go ahead and bring it into Photoshop just for the purposes of, there we go. In fact, you can see another attempt that we did there earlier I wasn't too happy with. There we go. Forgot to close that out. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and add a border to the image. And the reason I do that is just for presentation purposes so you can see it. And let's go ahead and make a black background and let's take a look. Okay, so let's study this image. We're going to say this is the final image. I'm pretty happy with this version right here. Let's kind of go over what we did again. So we brightened this area that we kind of called the river, so because that's where the light was shining. We've made that a little bit more accentuated. We've also made these branches in the back. We've made those a little bit brighter. And we've gone in here and we filled in a little bit of this bush, a little bit down here into the foreground. And then remember that swath we were talking about? That we have lightened up a little bit as well and made that a little bit brighter. So kind of what my hope is here is that your eye is being drawn to this, the river right here, as well as to this arc. So maybe you're doing something like this, and your eye is kind of bouncing around the image. So that's kind of my goal. So I'll leave it up there for a second so you can take a look at it and see if that's happening for you. But the trick is with these images is when you have complexity, first off, you probably want to try and avoid the complexity when you first take the picture. But in this case, I saw some patterns that I really liked, and then when we brought it into the computer, the goal was to accentuate those patterns. So I think we've done a fairly good job. I do have this image up on the website now, but it actually looks a little bit different. So this is a completely new version, never seen on the website before. We did it live in real time in front of you guys. Or I guess it's been pre-recorded, but this is as it was, what you're seeing right now. So this is the final image, and I do appreciate you watching after the shot. Be sure to check out Photo Story as well, and the YouTube, loganimage.com, to see all the images that I take, at least the ones that make the cut. And of course, Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. You see all those links down below. So do make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, that helps out a lot. Tell your friends and family. Appreciate you watching. You have a great day. Bye-bye. Time for take 2. We screwed up the first take. Come on, sweetie. Jump. You gotta jump. There we go. Now you sit.